After returning from a funeral, everything on the outside still looks the same. The houses are still there, the job is still there, daily life goes on. But somehow, for a few days afterward, I often feel a little heavier inside. It is not exactly sadness. Nothing major has happened. It is just that I feel more uncomfortable. I get tired more easily. I get irritated over very small, everyday things. The first time I experienced this feeling was quite a long time ago. And to be honest, I did not pay much attention to it. I simply thought I was overthinking. But over the years, through working with many different families, I began to realize that a lot of people have been through the same state, they just call it by different names. A funeral is a very particular kind of space, filled with emotions of loss, separation, and deep reflection. For someone who is doing well and feeling stable, these emotions may pass and settle down eventually. But for someone who is already tired, already stressed out, for example, just stepping into that space can add an emotional weight they do not even realize right away. In fact, even people who are physically healthy but are going through an important phase of life may not be in the best condition to attend a funeral. What happens afterward does not usually hit all at once. It shows up more quietly. In how we go about our routines, in how we respond to those close to us, in the tiniest decisions we make every day. In this video, I'm going to share with you which phases in life may not be suitable for attending a funeral, and why this can actually affect the peace and stability of the entire family in the most ordinary, real-life way. And here are the groups of people who are often not truly suited to attend a funeral at certain points in their lives. First, people who are mentally exhausted or under prolonged stress. For those who are mentally exhausted, the most important thing in daily life is maintaining a stable routine. When stress has gone on for a long time, the mind tends to be overloaded, and the ability to emotionally self-regulate becomes noticeably weaker. Just one more emotional strain can lead to longer-lasting disruptions than usual. A funeral is exactly that kind of emotional space. There, the feelings of loss and separation are present very clearly, even if the atmosphere is quiet. These emotions require a strong inner capacity to process and then let go. But for someone already under long-term stress, that inner capacity has likely already been worn down. So entering such a space can easily pull them further into a heavy emotional state. What is often noticeable is that the effects usually show up a few days later. The person becomes more sensitive, more easily irritated by small things. Daily life at home becomes less smooth. Everyday decisions, especially those involving money or communication, tend to be driven more by emotion than by reason. There may not be any major event, but the sense of unease lingers. From a life observation perspective rooted in Feng Shui, this is a time when a person's internal state does not align well with a deeply emotional environment. When the psychological rhythm has already slowed down due to fatigue, stepping into a heavy emotional space can create even more imbalance. That imbalance often spreads into the family's everyday life. Therefore, for someone who is mentally depleted, avoiding funeral attendance during a certain period can help prevent additional psychological pressure. Staying emotionally stable at this time also means contributing to greater peace within the family's daily life. Second, pregnant women or those who have recently undergone physical changes. For pregnant women, or for those who have just gone through a major physical shift, their physiological and emotional states are often much more sensitive than usual. This is a phase where the body is channeling most of its energy into internal adjustments, regulating hormones, repairing tissues, and rebalancing biological and emotional rhythms. When that process is still ongoing, their ability to handle external impacts is significantly reduced. Pregnancy is a clear example. During this stage, hormone levels are constantly changing to support the baby's development. These changes make emotions more volatile, stress tolerance lower, and reactions to the surrounding environment stronger. Even a moderate psychological trigger can produce a biological stress response in the mother's body, even if it does not appear outwardly as a dramatic emotion. A funeral is filled with deep emotional tones. The heavy atmosphere, the sense of farewell, the imagery of loss, and the awareness of life's impermanence all appear at once. For a body undergoing major internal adjustments like during pregnancy, being in that environment can easily activate a biological stress response. The heart may beat faster, breathing patterns may shift, and stress hormones may increase. These reactions can last longer than they would in someone not going through such changes. What is important to note is that these reactions often do not appear right away. Many people feel fine on the day of the funeral, but a few days later, the body starts to feel more fatigued, sleep becomes more disturbed, and a sense of unease increases without any clear reason. For pregnant women, this state makes it harder to rest and recover, even though rest is essential for both the mother and the baby. Similarly, people who have recently gone through physical transitions like childbirth, surgery, extended medical treatments, or recovering from illness are in a phase where their nervous and hormonal systems require stability. When the body is still focusing on healing, stepping into a space filled with heavy emotion can slow that recovery. Higher biological stress levels reduce energy regeneration, making fatigue last longer than usual. From a Feng Shui perspective, grounded in daily life, this is a period when a person needs nurturing and calm. Environments filled with emotional weight can create a mismatch between what the body needs and what it is exposed to. When this mismatch continues, it directly affects everyday life, sleep quality, and emotional stability within the family. That is why, for pregnant women or those recovering from a physical transition, choosing not to attend a funeral during a specific period is a wise decision. It helps reduce biological stress, supports hormone balance, and gives the body enough space to heal. When the mother or the recovering individual is in a peaceful state, that calm energy often extends to those around them, making everyday life flow more smoothly for the whole family. Third, young children and elderly people with fragile health. For young children and elderly individuals with weak health, the biggest common factor is the limited ability of their nervous systems to regulate themselves. In both age groups, the body reacts more strongly to the surrounding environment, but their ability to return to balance is often slower than in healthy adults. Young children do not yet have enough life experience to understand or process complex emotions. They take in the world mainly through sensations and the overall atmosphere. When they step into spaces filled with heavy emotions, their nervous systems can become overstimulated. They may not say anything, but afterward, they often show clear signs: trouble sleeping, becoming clingy, startling easily, needing more attention from adults, or becoming more irritable than usual. It is important to note that these reactions do not always happen immediately. Many parents bring their children to funerals and see that they seem fine on the day. Then, a few days later, their daily rhythms become disrupted. At that point, adults often assume it is just fatigue or a change in weather, not realizing that the child's nervous system needs time to settle back down. For elderly individuals with weak health, the situation unfolds a bit differently, but the underlying pattern is similar. At this age, the nervous system and the body's ability to adapt to environmental changes have already declined. Strong emotions, even when held in, still create internal biological reactions. Faster heart rate, changes in blood pressure, disrupted sleep. These effects can last longer, especially for those who already have fragile health. After attending a funeral, elderly people often fall into prolonged fatigue. Some eat less, sleep more lightly, or feel emotionally low. Some become more sensitive, easily anxious, or mentally scattered. These signs make everyday family life heavier, even though nothing dramatic has happened. From a Feng Shui point of view, based on real-life observation, both young children and the elderly need environments that are nurturing and stable. When the body and mind are already in a fragile state, entering emotionally demanding spaces makes the imbalance even more obvious. And that imbalance does not just affect the individual, it spreads into the rhythm of the entire household. Fourth, people facing financial instability or business downturns. When someone is going through financial difficulties, their mental state is often very different from usual. Whether they say it out loud or not, there is always a lingering sense of insecurity. Insecurity because the money is not stable yet. Insecurity because their work has stalled. Insecurity because the future feels more uncertain. This kind of state keeps the brain in constant alert mode, making it more reactive to symbolic or deeply emotional triggers. During a business downturn, the mind tends to focus heavily on the idea of loss. Loss of opportunity, loss of income, loss of position. Even if nothing has actually been lost, those feelings repeat themselves day after day. When this state lasts long enough, it directly affects how a person perceives everything around them. For someone in financial distress, entering a space that symbolizes endings and separation can easily intensify their emotional imbalance. The brain naturally links those emotional cues together, making the sense of lack feel even more real. This does not happen on the surface level, but deep in the layers of emotional response. The effects usually show up afterward in everyday life. A person may become overly cautious, or on the flip side, make impulsive decisions to escape the feeling of being stuck. Spending habits may become erratic. Financial choices are more likely to be driven by emotions than logic. Within the family, money-related conversations can easily turn tense, as the person is already carrying heavy internal pressure. Feng Shui, when viewed from the perspective of behavior and psychology, does not claim that any specific event causes financial loss. It simply observes that an unstable mental state often leads to a chain of poorly timed decisions, and those decisions are what impact the flow of money. When the mind is already shaken, placing oneself in environments that stir up deep emotions only prolongs that instability. For people going through a business downturn, what they need most during this time is a clear and calm mind. Every decision, even the smallest one, requires more clarity than usual. When the mind is still searching for something solid to hold on to, stepping into a space full of heavy emotions can easily send thoughts in a negative direction, making it harder to turn things around. Fifth, people who are about to get married, or the parents of the bride and groom. The period leading up to a wedding, big or small, is a very emotionally charged time. People getting married often carry a mix of emotions: excitement, nervousness, the stress of planning, and the pressure of preparing for a major life change. Parents of the bride and groom are no less affected. Along with the joy of seeing their children settle down comes a wave of concerns. Ceremonies, expenses, family dynamics, and all the little details that could cause tension. During this stage, the minds of both the couple and their parents are strongly focused on the future. All thoughts revolve around what is coming next: a new life, new responsibilities, and changes within the family structure. As a result, the nervous system stays on high alert, even if everyone on the outside appears calm. When the mind is oriented toward a beginning, entering a space filled with symbolism of endings and goodbyes can create emotional dissonance. This imbalance does not usually show up as a clear emotion, but often manifests as small conflicts, subtle tension, or a vague heaviness in the heart. The bride or groom may become more sensitive and more easily frustrated by even the smallest preparations. Parents may become overly anxious, leading to arguments within the family. What is also important to remember is that this pre-wedding period often involves big decisions, major expenses, work arrangements, and managing relationships between both families. When the mental state is off balance, those decisions can easily become emotional instead of thoughtful, lacking needed flexibility. The result is not always a big incident, but a heavy atmosphere, right when harmony is most needed. For the couple's parents, the pressure also comes from a sense of duty. They often try to keep everything smooth and proper to avoid conflict or gossip. When deep emotional stress is added, fatigue builds quickly, making them react more harshly toward their children or relatives, even when they do not mean to. From a Feng Shui perspective rooted in life observation, this is a time when the household needs to nurture the energy of beginnings, stability, joy, and connection. When emotional momentum is moving forward, entering a somber space can interrupt that flow. That slowdown directly impacts the wedding atmosphere and the emotional comfort of everyone involved. In moments like this, many people begin to wonder, if I skip attending a funeral at such a sensitive time, will I seem cold? Will others think I am being disrespectful or inconsiderate? These are honest questions, and they make people hesitate even when deep down they know they need to pause. This inner conflict is common, and many feel guilty about it. In Asian cultures, attending a funeral is seen as a gesture of respect toward the deceased and their family. So when someone considers not going, guilt often arises, fear of being judged or misunderstood. But when you look closer, kindness and respect are not only shown by being physically present, they are also shown by understanding one another's situation. There are times when someone is deeply exhausted, emotionally overwhelmed, or dealing with health or family issues. Forcing themselves to attend just to be polite can add more strain, and that weight follows them home. I have worked with many families who experience this. Someone attends a funeral while still overwhelmed, and not long after, small tensions surface at home. No one wants this, but because they could not slow down or explain what they were going through, everything quietly builds up. From a life-centered view, emotional connection is not just about outward gestures. It is about sincerity and the ability to maintain relationships without adding pressure. Sometimes a well-timed message, a quiet act of care, or a thoughtful gesture means more than showing up when you are not emotionally stable. From a long-term Feng Shui lens, keeping your emotional balance is part of your responsibility to the family. When someone knows how to regulate themselves, when to step up, when to take space, that calm naturally spreads to the people around them. The home becomes more peaceful and relationships grow stronger. What matters most is being honest with yourself. When you know where you are emotionally and what you need, the guilt fades. Real connection does not come from following fixed rules. It comes from clarity and sincerity in each decision. This story is not about telling people what they should or should not do. It is simply a reminder of something real. Every decision must match your current emotional state. Sometimes you are strong enough to handle any space, but other times, a small emotional trigger can weigh your mind down, shifting the balance at home. Realizing that does not make you weak, it makes you more self-aware. At its heart, Feng Shui is about harmony. When you are not yet at peace inside, slowing down is wise. Once you are grounded again, things will feel lighter. There is no need to compare yourself to others or fit into someone else's mold. If there is one thing worth holding on to after this video, it is the habit of listening closely to your own inner state before making a decision. By keeping yourself emotionally steady, you are also helping to create more peace for your family and daily life. If it feels right, go for it. If you feel the need to slow down, give yourself permission to do just that. The more space you create for calm, the easier life becomes for everyone around you.